poorly. I'm Tim Peterson. This is Emmy Nagata. I want to go further into the idea of challenging the centerline. I want to clarify some of the positions that we will use it in, and just the general idea, and then maybe a couple things about how you can use it in other guard passing situations. So if you're lying down here. Okay, so the way it starts off, remember, is 90 across, my center line, matched up against her center line, more or less makes a 90-degree angle. Okay, and this is really good for me pinning my partner, maybe off of a throw, maybe off of any number of things, but in this case, it's off of a guard pass. So we understand that this is a desirable position to be in. For example, my feet are against the floor, so I'm very stable. When I get here, I can move my feet freely and retain the pin, as opposed to something like the mount, where often your feet are having to be in very specific positions, hugging the hips, or maybe crossed underneath, or grapevining. They're doing something very specific. And so people can often struggle getting into the mount and stabilizing it, in large part because their legs are tied into their partners or their partner's hips, and so side control is a good landing position. It also has this quality where I'm always across my partner's center line. So my head is on one side of her center line, and my hips are on the other side of her center line. Okay, and when I can make this happen, it's usually pretty easy to pin people from here. So when we're going to pass guard, looking to get across the center line is a pretty desirable thing to do. And if you can do it at the end of a guard pass, you're going to get that pin that's required to really solidify and complete a guard pass. But it doesn't usually just happen all at once. You don't just go and start a guard pass and then drop down into side control. There's a lot of fighting that happens along the way, and so an idea that might be useful is challenging the center line, because I'm challenging her attempts to stop me from getting here by doing some specific things. And if I have this one thing in mind, challenging the center line, often it's easier to organize your movements when you're having to improvise and figure out what to do. Maybe you've never sparred or competed against this person before, or maybe you're just trying to expand your game, sharpen up your guard passing on both sides. Whatever the reason, if you're thinking about challenging someone's center line, it's usually going to make things a little more productive for you when it comes time to practice guard passing and improve that skill. So one thing that we have to do, can I be just a little this way, is in order to start challenging the center line, I do need to be past my partner's feet in some way, the bottom of the feet. More specifically, I can't have the bottom of her feet pushing on me in ways that realign her center line with mine. Okay, so anything where a push from her keeps me right in front of her or limits my ability to go off to one side, that's going to be a little bit of a problem for me. That doesn't mean I have to get the feet completely out to the side or anything crazy like that. I just can't let the bottom of the feet touch me. I need to do that at the beginning, and then I need to monitor what's going on all the way through so that those bottom of the feet don't come back in and reset me back to where we are right now. Okay, so let's look at an example. She's got the bottom of her 2 feet on me. She doesn't have any grips on me, but we're just looking at this idea of challenging the center line. So I might circle inside on one leg and then inside on another leg, okay? I put a hand here on the ribs and I put another hand here on the knee. What I want to do is take my right leg and make it replace my left leg by stepping across and stepping out. So we go 1, 2, and I step out, okay? You'll notice when I'm doing this that I don't go kicking back like this. I don't want to go through extra height if I don't need it. So what we do is we go across, I bring my heel to my butt, and then I send my leg out wide, okay? The wider this goes, the more directly I'm challenging the center line when we get to the cross knee. As I go to a cross knee, my partner will probably put a frame on me in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it'll be an elbow in the armpit, and maybe a hand up here along my collarbones. This is to prevent me from bringing my head down in any meaningful way where I could maybe move her head with mine. Maybe I could go across her body, different things like this. She's also got a knee frame in here, and this could be arranged in different ways. Right now, her upper body frame is above her knee frame, but she could just as well reinforce her knee frame with an elbow. Both of them work, both of them have their purpose. So in this opening, where I've got my knee to the ground, and I'd be looking for better upper body grips. And M has created a frame. She's starting to get ready to block my crossface. Something's got to happen. And while this is happening, I've got to be aware that M's going to be using this frame to keep me where I am so that she can start moving her head away from me and ultimately freeing this bottom leg, stepping it right here on my knee. And then if she just goes to square up, bang, now she's centerline to centerline, and I'm going to have to pass her guard again. Okay, so what was going on there? Well, we start off here. I was able to get inside the feet. I was able to get the guard pass started, but she took her frames and she started to keep me in place here. I didn't really move at all. But what M did was take her own center line, starting with her head, and moved it away. And she moved it to a point where now my head and my hips are clearly on one side of her center line. Her center line here cuts right on through, and my whole body is on one side of that. So that means it's going to be very easy for her to bring her legs through and fully defend her guard. If on the other hand, she had taken the knee away and circled a foot onto me, she would be able to do exactly what she just did, exactly what I just mentioned, plus she's guaranteed to get this bottom leg back and put me at a range where now I've got to go through the process of clearing her feet again. And depending on your partner's skill and what kind of guard they like to play, that can be its own can of worms. So once we're in on the feet, we don't really want them coming back. We want to take a hand and check here at the ribs and one here at the knee, and then make a quick switch here and step over. So now as I bring my knee down, my partner starts turning on the other side, and I start putting my knee here on the floor. Okay? Once we're in this position, she will be doing all those things she was doing before, framing, all these different things. So what I want to do is make sure to park my hand down so that my elbow is under her elbow, and then I want to move my head across her center line while I move my knee, my cross knee, once going across to my own knee, all the way through, so that I maximize the amount that I go across her center line with my head and my hips. Now I'm starting to get close to that 90 across position. Okay, and if you can make it here, you're going to make good progress. It's not that difficult at this point to just start rewinding the hips with the reverse Homer Simpson, and then coming back around and resolving with some sort of upper body grip that gives you good chest-to-chest contact, 90 across. You could develop this further and go from the upper 45 to a knee on belly, or now I'm at another lower 45, but this time it's with knee on belly, and then maybe I go further than that and I mount. And because I'm in the mount position and my head is on this side, I need to be aware of this far corner, and I need to be aware that my left grapevine is going to stop her from bridging me in this direction. And I'm definitely not going to get bridged in this direction because I've got a hand on the floor. So I might put a second grapevine in though, just to make sure of that. Okay? So in a cross knee pass, we challenge the center line. We make sure to get the head on one side and the hips on the other. When we're going back and forth through those guard passing scrambles, that's something I'm going to have to constantly be doing. So another example of this. I go in, I get my partner's feet are higher than her knees here. So this often means that we can swim inside, go into knee cut passes, things like this. If on those attempts, like going to a cross knee pass, I get a sense that I can bring her foot lower than her knee, this is often a good time to start going into bullfighter passes, when the foot is below the knee, okay? The foot is above the knee, it can be hard to get those feet down. Not impossible, but it's just harder than when the foot is lower than the knee. When it's lower than the knee, why not go with it? It's the easiest thing in the world. We bring it down like this. Now in a bullfighter pass, not challenging the center line properly can also have different effects. So let's say I do a sort of classic push-pull, go across, and I'm looking to finish the bullfighter pass. Here's my partner's center line, and like it's a pane of glass coming up from her body, I'm actually entirely behind it. So even though I've got a bullfighter pass, I've got angle, I've got my trail leg right at her hip line and sideline, this far leg, super easy. She brings it in, covers guard, nothing good. So even in a bullfighter pass, we want to be challenging the center line. In a bullfighter pass, it's often possible to go all the way to the upper 45 to challenge the center line. So I might go in, I might take my step, my push-pull starts, I put my trail leg on her, and I step up here, and I make sure to bring my head across the center line here. Now I've got a good guard passing position, and now I can think about potentially coming down into a different kind of pin and keeping my partner in a good position under me. Okay? So you can see sort of what's going on with that is there's a whole bunch of different guard passes that I'm sure you know, but when you're moving around with somebody, what's often difficult to suss out is my guard pass succeeding because the other person doesn't know what they're doing? Is it succeeding because I'm making the right movement? Those are totally different possibilities. If I'm passing someone's guard and they just keep getting their guard recovered, I just cannot seem to catch up to them. Is it that I'm doing something wrong in the current stage of the guard pass, the step I'm on, or is it that I chose the wrong guard pass entirely? If I'm playing guard, what's going to be dangerous about a guard pass? What things are pretty harmless and I can just allow to happen? The big thing for both athletes is, can the guard passer get past the feet and start challenging the center line by getting their head on one side of the center line and their hips on the other side? And often if you start looking for this, what you'll see is the moments when people drift, the moments where they could be across their partner's center line, maybe in this kind of shape, they end up in this kind of shape with their partner's center line right next to them, and then the person on bottom recovers guard, or they get put into single legs, and all kinds of stuff happens. So play with this idea. Take your guard passes that you like, and try to notice the moments when you do challenge the center line, and see if you can feel the difference in control, that they've lost so much of their ability to play guard, and you've gained very strong control of them through whatever mechanism you're using at the time, whatever grip, whatever body positioning. And then take it and flip it onto your bad side guard passes. The guard passes you know, but that you don't do as well on your other side. And see if you add in this one idea, challenging the center line. See if it makes a difference in how effective the guard pass feels to you. Because you might find that you do this thing that's on your bad side, and you make a strong attempt to challenge the center line. You make a strong attempt to get your head on one side and your hips on the other. And that when you do that, you go, oh, okay, this feels like I've got some actual pressure here. This feels like I can produce something useful here. So that's a good start. Take your good guard passes, play with challenging the center line, notice when it happens. Then take those same guard passes, do them on your bad side, and see if you notice yourself struggling in certain areas that can be cleaned up by just going back to that idea of challenging the center line. Am I keeping my hips across the center line of my partner's body? Am I keeping my head on the other side of my partner's body? Okay, and let me know what you think. If it's working, it's not working, just let me know. Okay, thank you, bye.
That last spell was unexpected. My contacts are so dry.